Yeah, so these topics actually are very important to me, right? Because I think, unfortunately, a lot of people, especially a lot of Black folks, don't fully understand the financial system, and so I think everything, even I mean, even beyond just credit cards, just I mean, just the banking system itself, right? Like,
Mhm.
even just how to bank properly. I think most folks don't know how to bank properly, right? And that's something that we can have a whole conversation about that. But on the credit cards, I think it was Lashes who asked the question about. I think her question was, why do banks offer give us credit cards? I think was her question, right? Because I really wanted to answer that.
That's
Um,
good.
so for those who don't know, um, if everybody who got a credit card paid off their balance at the end of, at the end of the month, the credit card industry would basically go bankrupt instantly, right? So what credit card companies are, or specifically financial institutions, what they're banking on when they create the credit card product is they're banking on the people who won't pay off their balances, right? And that's such a large number that they make so much money off of it that that's how they actually able to create all these rewards for to offer you as an incentive, right? So they attract you with these rewards, but they know that you're going to end up paying them more anyway through the interest. And so essentially what happens with credit cards is it's a much simpler system than people realize. It's basically a system where the people who use credit cards irresponsibly, or at least not properly, they end up subsidizing it for the people who use it properly, right? So the people who actually get to take advantage of the points but still pay off their balances, get to get the bonuses, and still pay off their balances, right? Those people get to actually enjoy, those I guess those benefits, right?
Mhm.
While you sit there and you're paying off a balance that you can never pay off because the interest is constantly growing, right? And they're just making a lot of money off of that. That's pretty much what actuaries do, right? Like that's pretty much what they do is they sit there and they calculate the probabilities of people actually paying off this debt. Um, and unfortunately, like even if you ask like the average person, some of the most important things about their credit cards, they couldn't tell you. Like for example, you know you should technically know what your daily interest rate is, right? If you're using your credit card um, regularly, you should know what your daily interest rate is. But most people don't even know what that is, or even how to calculate that, right? Um, because that actually is how the credit card companies calculate your interest, right? They
You talk
calculate
about
based on your
APR,
daily interest
right?
rate. It's not an annual interest rate or the monthly interest rate. It's based on the daily interest rate.
Got
But most people don't even know that number or how to derive it. And so I guess I just wanted to point out that this is why I'm always kind of like, because on one hand, I think Dave Ramsey is very extreme, right? I think he's very extreme, but it's for good reason because he's a lot of people who are coming to Dave Ramsey, right? They're coming to him with a bunch of debt, and he's just trying to get them out of debt, and he's trying to get them in a mind frame where they don't have to think about credit as the answer to all their problems, right?
Right.
And so when he's approaching it from that perspective, I can fully understand him saying, "Hey, you need to cut up all those credit cards. You need to start with these baby steps. You need to do all this
Right.
stuff." I think that's way better for the average person.
Mhm.
On the opposite side, though, I know for a fact that it's actually much smarter to use credit cards for a number of reasons, right? Like it's actually much smarter on a day-to-day basis. Anything that you do with a debit card, it's smarter to use credit cards for them. And the primary reason is security, right? Because if something happens, like let's say you lose your credit card and somebody runs up, some charges on it, that's the bank's money, and that's one of the actual that's actually what makes this so powerful is that if you lose your debit card, the bank will still try to help you, but they have less an incentive to do so, right? But when it's a credit card, because they're extending credit to you, they have more incentive to figure out what happened. And on top of that, because it's also a good representation of their benefits, right? They're going to basically say, okay, at least as we investigate this, we'll credit you some that amount back, and like they'll figure out something, right? And so that security alone is worth you using credit cards over debit cards,
Right.
right? Um, and so I would actually recommend to most people, I would want to recommend to them to use credit cards, but then I'm always scared to do so because the moment people start using credit cards, they look at it as free money, and it's like it's not free money, it's
Right.
debt. And you need to
Okay.
understand that this is debt. It's not free money. And so
Mhm.
if you're not ready to, if you're gonna make an expense right now and it's gonna cost you $500, if you could not actually spend that $500 on your debit card right now, you should not be spending it. But because that disconnect between your credit card and your bank account exists, most people they just for some reason cannot understand that, hey, you should not spend this money on your credit card if you're not ready to pay it off right now.